going to start today installing the cam phasers on both the right and left heads and installing the timing chain. So again, this is a Gen 1 Coyote, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Leaving off where I did before, the crank is still at the 9 o'clock position. Both cams on both sides are in their neutral position, and you can always tell that by the matrix on top of the cam. So these should be here, and on the right bank you're gonna, or left, excuse me, on the left bank you're gonna see them a little bit more at an angle. We're doing these first, and then of course we roll this back, so all this will clock back a little bit. Okay, I remember conversations on the internet that I've heard people do this two different ways. This is the correct way from the Ford manual to install the phaser chain. The hash indicators on each gear go opposite each other. The double colored link is going to go on the intake, which is a single sprocket pretty much, and the double sprocket gets the single. So it's kind of like 1 to 2 and 1 to 2. You still have the same amount of links on either side here. There's 13 links total here, 13 links total here. So I did an experiment and put them, because I've seen people do it this way. I don't know what their outcome is because I never hear about the final project. I'm not going to do it this way, but you still have the same rotation and the same spacing if you do it this way, where the single is on the intake and the double is on the exhaust. Now somebody can prove me wrong, and I hope you comment and let me know, because I'd like to know. I can't see the difference. The chain's going to go around, the sprocket's going to go around, and I've kind of done a dummy test, and it comes out the same. Granted, the links will at some point in time match each other again, whether you do it this way or you do it this way. But because the Ford manual says to do it this way, this is the way I'm going to install it, because I don't like doing things a different way, especially when I'm not real sure. So I'm installing mine back factory manual way. And this is on a Gen 1. I'm sure that the Gen 2 and 3 are similar. I'm just not sure. And I'm going to start by installing the phasers on this side. And again, I'm going as per the Ford manual, which says that you put the single link on the exhaust phaser, which is this one, the double, let's call it the double sprocket one. It gets a single shiny link, and the double shiny gets split on the intake. And these are perpendicular across when they go on, and they have dowels inside here, one here, that will actually match up to the cam here and here. So when you push those on, they'll kind of rock a little bit. You might have to move the cam just a little bit, and then they will lock in, and then you can go ahead and tighten everything. Both cams are in the neutral position. The matrix is pointed up. Our tensioner is in for the secondary chain. Also, our cam phasers are aligned correctly. We have our single link with a mark and our double link with a mark, and the double link is on the intake sprocket. The single is on the exhaust. Also, they have locator pins inside, dowels that'll go into the corresponding slots. On that dowel, so I know that that's right there, and if the exhaust slides in, that's good. Sometimes the cam will be off just a little bit, and if it is, this will be out, and the cam might be rotated just a little bit where you can't push it on all the way. So people use crescent wrenches. There's a tool, but it's 1.5 inches, and go across the flats, and you kind of roll the cam until it locks in the dowel, and then you can make sure and it slips in. You'll hear a little lock, and it'll be on there. And you can also tell because this is going to be perpendicular to the cam towers. I've already got the pre-assembly lube on all the bolts for both sides, so I'm just ready to grab them. And now we'll take one and flip around, and they should just go in nice and easy. Alright, once they're torqued, then you can just rotate the plunger and bring the guide out. And the little extra lip or raised ramp will be towards the front. So the smooth side is back here, and the little protrusion, which is right here, will be facing the front. And this is ready. We can go ahead now and put the cam phasers on this side the same way as we did this side. Again, we may have to roll the exhaust cam a little bit to get the phaser on, and then these will get torqued, and then we can go ahead and install this chain first, and then we'll put this chain on. All right, the billet gear is on. Keyway, we have a mark on the gear that will line up with the mark on the chain, and it doesn't matter which end, this one's there or this one's there, as long as the marks are lined up. So one of them will be here and in this position. This mark will be about at the 5 o'clock, and when we rotate it back, it'll be about at the 7. So we want to put one mark around this mark lining up with the L, and the timing mark right here on the cam. And then we're going to bring the chain down, and we're going to try to walk it over the sprocket. And the link here should line up. It needs to line up with the mark on the sprocket. So just double check this to make sure you're right here and you're right here. And then we're going to put the tensioner on, because we have a little bit of slack. And to take up this slack, we need to take up this slack. So the easiest way to do this is just kind of apply a little bit of pressure, and the cam will roll a little bit, and we'll take up that rolling slack here before our tensioner gets put on. And just again, we want to make sure that our crank is in line with our mark here and our mark here. And if we want to really secure it, we'll stick a bolt in there to get it, hold it in place. And just take the slack out and make sure that it's tight. And then we'll tighten this one down, and these get torqued down to 89 inch-pounds. And now we'll go ahead and install the upper guide, and it just sits there. Just make sure that it's in there. And then we'll take the tensioner, and I like to start the bottom bolt first, because I can always roll this. And these get torqued to 89 inch-pounds. Okay. So again, before I pull the pin, I want to make sure my mark here is lined up with my dark link. My mark here on the left side is lined up with the indicator. I can pull this, and this side is done. Our next step is to roll the crank to the 12 o'clock position, and then we'll install the right side. Take our chain, and again match our dark link with the right side and the mark, and then on the crank we're about at the 7 o'clock position, and that's where our other dark link is going to show up. And if we have to rotate the crank, We can do that just a little bit, which in this case I'm going to. Just a little bit more clockwise. There. After our chain is on, we have a lot of slack on our guide side, but that's okay for right now. We're going to install our camera guide. In our guides here are marks lined up. We need to take this slack out so we can rotate the crank, or we can rotate the cams a little bit. So we need to take the slack out of this side to allow us to get our tensioner side on. So we want to make sure we take this slack out. Now we want to put our follower on here. Tensioner guide. And I want to make sure that my mark is lined up with the crank. It's on the chain. The left side is marked, lined up right, and our mark here is lined up right. I'm going to take the slack out of this a little bit by pulling this. And now we are ready to put the front cover on. All right, just going to double check the chains. So we have basically crank at 12 o'clock because we did the right bank last. So here's the dark link, and we have the matching dark link for the other side on the left side right here. And there's the mark on the gear. And then we take that up to the top, and we have the dark link lined up with the mark on the sprocket. And on the other side we have the dark link matched up with the dot on the sprocket. So this chain's in time. And then around the back side on the phasers, bring the light, we have the single mark here with the single gold link, and we have the mark right here on the sprocket, so it's in between. And we have the double gold link and the mark right there on the phaser. Get in here and point, so it's right there. And we have the gold link right here, and the mark on the phaser is right there. It's hard to see, but it's right there at the end of the pick, and then there's the gold link. So what I like to do now is rotate the engine a revolution just to make sure that everything's free and everything rolls right. Notice that all these marks are going to now change, but it really doesn't matter. We know we're in time. I'm ready to put the front cover on and continue on. Okay, I'm going to replace the seal on the front cover. Basically, I got some blocks underneath there. I don't like just pounding on the metal under metal to metal, so I put a couple of blocks. Just take a punch on the back side and just knock it out. And the new seal has got it's rubber impregnated to help seal, so we're going to put this one in, and for that I'm going to turn this over. And then I just grab my new seal and I'll set it in here to get it centered. I use a seal driver. And make sure that I'm pretty even all the way around, and that looks good. And that cover will be ready to go back on. Okay, getting ready to put the front cover on. I've already got the gaskets in. I've dabbed a little bit of silicone in each part where it's going to seal on the head. I'll get over to that in a minute, or on the block, and as well as the pan. I like to run a little bit, even though the gaskets on the pan is sealed. I like to run a nice thin swipe just along where it's going to make contact. Again, here, here, and just up here to seal those gaskets. And again, the seam on the head. Seal's already been put in. So I've got silicone here, 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 and here. And then the cover's just going to get pushed on there and then torqued down. Okay, I got to work a little quick here. All right, the front cover's been installed and the silicone has been put in the correct places where basically where the seams are. I put a little bit extra along the pan, and now I'm going to leave it sit because I want to make sure that that stuff's cured, and then I'll go ahead and button up the top and put the pulley on and finish assembling it. All right, I'm going to get ready to install the power by the hour power steering bracket, as well as the air conditioning bracket. The air conditioning is basically just going to go right here on the block. This plate here is going to go here. This other one is going to go up here, and then it'll get squared up and tightened down. This can get tightened, but the top one will get tightened once the AC gets put on, once I have it back in the car. And the the power steering bracket goes on this side, and basically, if I remember correctly, this kind of goes like this into here. I've already got the stud out of that threaded block. This is going to sit in here, get bolted in there. So I'm going to get this opened up and get busy. All right, I'm going to start with the power steering bracket adapter. Again, I have the bolt out here. Well, that's where the alternator did bolt before, and this had a stud out here. So that was removed. Power by the hour bracket just kind of slides in here over that. I've already removed the bolt. All right, now I do have the 4 bolts. They're going to go in here. And my power steering is still in the 02 Mustang, so that'll be laying there. So I'll install that when I get this in the car. On this side, this is for the my stock air conditioning. So their bracket is going to go here with their supplied Allen head. Okay, I'm going to leave that just snug because they say that that has to get squared up once the AC gets bolted in there. And then again, they give you these 3 bolts to secure your AC, which will go in here, and then this one, and then this one. So that's pretty much it until it gets in the car. And I left myself a note that I need to torque this, because I really don't have a good way of securing the crank. I'm not going to use a strap or a ratchet strap on this. So I'm going to wait till I get it off the engine stand down on the ground. I'll have the flywheel on. I can bar the flywheel, and then I can torque this, and then it can go in the car. And then I'll cut my note off. That's just to remind me that I need to torque that. Okay, I just finished up mocking up the power by the hour brackets just to get an idea on the belt routing and how this is going to go, because I can't finish anything until, of course, the AC and the power steering is bolted up and that's in the car. So once this gets in a few weeks, then I can start on that. So pretty much this is how it's going to be. Just have the harness put on the top and the covers, and then this will sit until it's ready to go in the car. So thanks for staying with me so far, and the excitement is probably yet to come, but I'm looking forward to that part. So thanks a lot.